Okay, so I think we're at the point, everybody, where we know enough that we can start to get fairly sophisticated and complex in our programming. We can start to talk about how to put together the elements for writing kind of some nice games. So let's take a look at all the different things that would go into making a game. Okay, well, the first obvious thing is movement. So you have your sprite, your character, you want to move them around your world. And oftentimes that's through the keyboard. Sometimes you have a joystick or other controller, but oftentimes movement occurs through the keyboard. Okay, so let's say I'm going to keep this arrow sprite because it's easy to see in what direction it's facing and where it is. So let's say I want to make some real simple controls. Let's say I'm going to use the arrow keys. So we'll say the left arrow turns it to the left, the right arrow will turn it to the right or clockwise, we'll say, and then the up arrow will move it forward. Okay, so you have turn left, turn right, and move forward. And then that set of controls, those three controls, you should be able to move throughout the world. Okay, so let's see how we would program that up. What does that look like as far as code goes? Okay, well, I'm going to start in my usual way. So I'm going to start with my green flag block. What I want to happen is whenever I press the green flag, which is basically start the game, I'm going to want to start it at the same place every time for now. Okay, so I'll say when I press the green flag, go to the center 00 of your screen and face right. So face in direction 90, that's right. Okay, so there it just starts at the same place every time. Now let's talk about movement. So how do I sense movement? So we're going to put what's called an event handler. An event handler. So as the name implies, what it does is it waits for an event to occur. An event could be like moving the mouse, pressing a certain key on the keyboard. So that's an event. And as soon as that trigger event occurs, then a bunch of code is going to kick into gear. Okay, so it's going to be passive. It's not going to do anything until that event occurs. Okay, so it's going to just wait in the background, wait for you to press something, and then once it does, or once it senses that, then a whole bunch of stuff is going to kick into gear. So that's how we usually do motion or movement, is through these so-called event handlers. So to find those, we're going to go to our control section, and you notice below the green flag block, there are these other blocks, and these are often referred to as event handlers. So I'm going to pull off this guy right here. Okay, when space is pressed, then you do something. So this is an event handler. This one is waiting for the space bar to be pressed. So when you start your program, it's not going to seem like it's doing anything. After it moves to the center, after you click the green flag and it moves back to the center, then it's going to just sit there and not do anything. Okay, but really, actually, things are going on. What's happening is the program is going to be waiting for you to press the space bar. Once you press the space bar, then whatever code you put in this block is going to kick into gear. Okay, so it's actually doing stuff. It's waiting, but nothing active is happening, so you can't see anything on the screen. Okay, now I'm going to change this. So instead of the space, now you notice I could click on that drop down, and a whole bunch of all the keys on the keyboard pop up. Okay, so let's say let's program the left and the right arrows. Okay, so I'm going to say when the left arrow is clicked, so when I click the left arrow, I want it to turn counterclockwise. So I want it to turn to the left. So I go back to the motion blocks. Okay, I want it to turn counterclockwise, okay, which is this direction here. Okay, now instead of 15 degrees, that's kind of a lot. So let's try maybe 1 degree. Okay, let's try a real small amount, 1 degree for now. So what happens is when I click the green flag, the sprite moves back to the center, faces right. Now what should happen is if I press my left arrow key, it should turn. If you watch it real closely, you can kind of see it turning. Here, let me do this. Let me hold it down so it repeats. So if I hold the key down and just repeat it, then you can see it turning. Okay, it's turning really slowly, but it is turning. Okay, so maybe 1 degree is too small. Maybe let's try maybe 5 degrees. Okay, let's try something a little bigger. So let's click the green flag again, resets, and now let me try. So when I click, it's a little better, it's a little faster. Okay, so maybe I'll keep it as 5 degrees. That's pretty good for now. Okay, so that's the left arrow. Now if I press the right arrow, notice nothing happens because I haven't programmed that up yet. So I need another event handler. So let me go back to control and pull out this one again. Okay, so this time I'm going to do the right arrow. Okay, now notice in your scripts area, you can have multiple of these running at the same time. There's no rule that says you can only have one script running at the same time. So all of these two event handlers are going to be running in the background simultaneously. So you can have multiple things going on here simultaneously. Okay, so what I want to happen is if I press the right arrow key, I want it to turn clockwise, okay, which is this direction. Okay, so we'll put it the same amount, 5 degrees. Okay, so let's test it. So if I run it, green flag resets. So press the left arrow, that turns that way. Press the right arrow. Now see it turns the other way. Okay, so I have the turning motion. Now let's do the forward motion. So if I press the up arrow key, let's have it move forward a certain amount. Okay, so I'll drag in the event handler, choose the key, which will be up arrow. Okay, and then we want it to move forward. Okay, so that'll be this block here, move a certain number of steps. Okay, now the default is 10. Let's see what that does. Maybe that's going to be good enough. So let's try. So let me reset. So I'm going to press the arrow key. Okay, then it moves forward. Okay, kind of chunky moving, but you can see it moving forward. Then I can turn it. I can press the left and right arrows, and I can move it forward. So in that way, I can kind of maneuver around the space. Okay, so I got some kind of rudimentary motion going on. So the way that you program motion into things like games is you use these so-called event handlers. So an event handler is a piece of code that just sits and waits passively for something to happen, a so-called event, like us pressing a space bar, pressing the right arrow, left arrow, up arrow. Then once that event is sensed, then a whole bunch of code kicks into gear. Okay, so that's motion for you.